So we're moving on to our next speaker, Marieke Bos. She's a feminist lesbian from the Netherlands, and she's here to tell us why she signed the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights.
It was a no-brainer for me. I got drawn into this gender war, let's call it, I think about 11 or 12 years ago on Pinterest. That was before I was on Twitter. And I was member of several feminist group boards. And we had some discussions about prostitution, for instance. Is it a women's right or is it a women's wrong? But it was always kind of okay to disagree with sex workers' work. But then it seemed out of the blue. It was all about trans women or women. That was new to me. And I think it took me a couple of months before I got blocked from most of the feminist group boards for being transphobic. At first, I was surprised by the stupidity of the arguments. And they were so stupid, they actually made me doubt myself. I really thought, am I too stupid to understand this? No, of course, a trans woman is not a woman. But then eventually I found Feminist Current. I think it was founded in 2014, and I joined Twitter and I found all these women who were sane like me, and that was a really good thing, because before this started, my idea of people who were transsexuals, not transgender, were actually very feminine gay men and butch lesbian women. That was my experience with people who identified as trans. But to find out that it's also a sexual thing, a fetish, that was new for me.
I see. And you mentioned that you were blocked from the groups that you had joined online, but I think also that you don't feel free to speak even in the offline world, in your current in the ordinary life, and that's for a reason. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm a civil servant, and we are allowed to speak on controversial topics unless it directly impacts our job. And I work for the Dutch Social Security Department of a municipality. I have clients, a caseload of clients, vulnerable people, and every now and then one of them identifies as transgender. So I want to be a neutral person. So I don't think for my clients it's right to know what my political views are, or what my standpoint is on prostitution or transgender identities. So it doesn't stop me from speaking to colleagues about this, or friends and family. I'm fortunately enough to not have lost any friends, but it's a close call.
Why did you sign the Women's Declaration? Why do you think that is important for women?
Because it makes sense. I think I agree with pretty much all of it. I'm against surrogacy, I'm against prostitution, transgenderism. Because of my job, I work with a lot of vulnerable people, and there's such a clear difference between men and women. The problems they have, it's just not the same. So we need to make that distinction, that women face a sex-based oppression. It has nothing to do with gender identity. It's all about our sex and how it's exploited by men.
Is there anything else you would like to tell women about what's happening in the Netherlands, for instance?
Yeah, we don't have self-ID yet, fortunately. There was a proposition for a new law, but it's been declared controversial, which means our government fell. I don't know if that's the right proper English expression, but it fell, and we are going to have new elections in November. And because it's declared controversial, it means that until after the elections, they cannot do anything with it, which is a good thing. It has been postponed a couple of times already. And even the party that suggested self-ID is starting to doubt whether it was a good idea. But still, pretty much all the parties on the left are still leaning towards self-ID. Yeah, And since 2014, it's already almost self-ID, because all you need is a note from your doctor. It can be your GP, it can be a psychiatrist or psychologist, that says that you have this gender identity and that it's fixed and unchangeable. And then you can change your legal sex, so that you don't even need, what's it called in English? A document that says that you are...
A certificate.
So, well, no, that
or a diagnose, an official diagnose. From
you don't need a diagnose, but also not a certificate that's for good behavior. I'm sure each country has it. You need it if you apply for a job with children, for instance. You don't even need that. So if a rapist comes out of prison and decides he wants to be legally recognized as a woman, he can just go to the city hall and get his certificate and get his legal sex changed.